Hey, Russell of Hotels going live just for a couple minutes. You guys know how I do it. I do these daily check-ins daily. Well, today is Wednesday. Happy Hump Day. It is January 17th. Hope you guys are doing well. I do these daily check-ins every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. On Tuesdays, I do On Air with Russell of Hotels. That's that live hospitality talk show that everyone's talking about, okay? So there you go. So now you're caught up on why am I doing this thing today and all this kind of stuff. Because some people are like, I know you're doing more of these live. Yeah, well, I do live 5 days a week. Okay, at least that's what I try to do. That is the goal, to always do five a week, and normally I stick to it. Okay, so there you go. So today, well, I always have an agenda, right? I always have a question I'd ask myself or ask you guys, or maybe these are questions that someone asked me. And I say, you know what? Let me just share with the masses, okay? So today's question is, and I try to keep these things under 30 minutes, not going to be long, right? Going, kind of quick and to the point. So I don't want to, be long and drawn out. So you want to start a podcast, huh? So, okay, this is the second part of Friday. Friday, I did the first five. So you want to start a podcast? Well, some of the things that you need to do in order to start one, okay, or to make it as good as it can be, or as well, do as well as you can do if you do start a podcast, right? So I always say this: if you're on the fence about starting a podcast, just do it, okay? Just run out there and just do it, make it happen. That's what I did, right? I did my little research first, but I just made it happen. I said, you know what, it stayed on my mind, and I was thinking, what is the best way to promote what I do? Who I am, what I do, and how I can help people, right? So I said, you know what, maybe going into coming out of one year, going into a new year, I said I don't want to do the same thing over and over again. I want to do something different, do something fresh, maybe step out of my comfort zone. And that's what I did. I came up with a podcast, right? So my first one was a traditional podcast where I went to, it's called LA Talk Radio. And I talked about this a little bit last week. And it was just like, basically like a radio station, like an internet radio station, where you walk in and there's an office, or there's a studio that has microphones and buttons and all this kind of stuff, just like a radio, a traditional radio station, but it was just basically out on the internet. And from there, all I had to do was it was turnkey, just walk in, set it up, and go, push a button, five, four, three, two, one, you're on, that kind of thing. And then I had someone, producers and all that, that would edit it and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, well, I would ask them questions, and they kept things close to the vest, because the more they told me, the more I probably would need them, right? So, but I did 90 episodes with them, right? That's a heck of a lot. I did 90 episodes. I've done 237 total. Okay, so my first 90 were with LA Talk Radio. So, and that you just paid your money. You showed up at, I think my time was 12 to 1. And I showed up at like a quarter to 12, countdown, push the button, talked, and then at the end, push the button, I'm done, right? So no music. I had to push music for, buttons for music, none of that stuff. But then during that came Facebook Live. So we kind of adapted into a Facebook Live situation, and then it became more of a talk show, because now you can visually see someone, right? So that same premise from back then is still evident today, where you can take that, it's a video and audio portion, and put it on to a Spotify or whatever, and it will basically extract the audio out of it. So you can still do a traditional podcast, even if you're doing a live, just like this. You can see me, but what these the software does is just basically extract the audio portion from it, and then you can put it on, your Spotify, your Anchor, or whatever, how else you do it. So that's kind of give you a little background of me and how I got started doing this podcast. So now I went through the first five last week. I got another like 6 or 7 this week. So I'm going to just quickly go over what I talked about on Friday. I'm just going to, like the first one is, let's just move on here. But I just, you always got to give people background before you just start just talking, right? So just remember that the chat is open. You can make your comments on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, X, and IG. Okay, so is that enough platforms to be on? So if you can't find me, you ain't looking, okay? Because I'm definitely there. So just make sure if you have comments or just let me know that you're there, and I'll just say, hey, what's going on to you? What's going on with you? What's going on to you? Well, that didn't even make sense. But anyway, so last week, oh, see, these are the ones from this week. So let me just go over the ones from last week before I get to these. The first one was define your podcast concept, whatever that is. Research your audience. Choose a unique name and branding. Mine is called On Air with Russell of Hotels or the Daily Check-In. Plan your episodes. Got to do that. And get the right equipment. So that was the first, I think, 5 or 6 that I went through. You know, equipment is important, but you don't need all the equipment to start off with. You amass the equipment as you're getting better at what you're doing. If you find out that you really want to do it, is there a long-term commitment? Because if you get equipment, there's a long-term commitment behind that. So I started getting, I got the Rodecaster, I got a new laptop, I got a microphone stand, all this kind of stuff, right? Because I was in it for the long haul. And I knew that after you do it for a year, you're like, well, hey, this is kind of cool. I like doing it. I'm out of my comfort zone. Now I'm real comfortable. Now I can, I got guests coming on, all this kind of stuff. Okay, now it's time to invest in making my craft better. Not competing with anyone. It's about you. It's an eternal thing. Do you want to get better at what you're doing? Do you want better equipment? Do you want to sound better? Do you want to do all that stuff, clarity, all that stuff? So that's how I got started, right? So, but anyway, okay, so that's where the right equipment comes into it. Okay, so the next 5 or 6, set up recording space. Find a quiet and acoustically friendly space to record your episodes, minimize background noise, and ensure good audio quality. Yeah, you always want to make sure you're I don't know if this is the acoustics are right in here, but this is the only space I have, right? So this is how I had to make it work, right? So I'm in my kind of family room / man cave, okay? So whatever you want to put it. When the family's down here, it's a family room. When I'm just down here by myself, it's a man cave, okay? So I think it's been working, so I'm not, hey, and I do these on the road too, so it's not like I just do them here. If I'm on location at a hotel, I do the same thing. I may not have the Rodecaster with me. I may not have the Rode microphone, but I'm still going to do it, right? So, but you always want to get a quiet place if you can. Sometimes I'm in the lobby and, of course, there's chatter going on in the lobby. I think that adds to, the excitement of being in a hotel. It's okay to have a little background noise as long as it is background noise and doesn't take away from you, and they can still hear you. Your audience or your listeners can still hear you, and that's important, right? So yeah, so set up, recording space. Make sure it's quiet. If it can be acoustically friendly, that's fine, but minimize as much background noise as you can. The next is recording and editing. Record your episodes using your chosen recording software. Edit your recordings to enhance audio quality and remove unnecessary elements. Consider adding an intro and an outro to your podcast to add a professional touch. Okay, I do that on Air with Russell of Hotels. I have an intro and an exit. Okay, so I recorded those. I actually had someone record them for me, right? So I have a lady's voice on there because her voice sounds better than mine. Okay, so I said, you know what? I like Cheryl Rogers, a friend of mine. Okay, so she is the voice on my On Air with Russell of Hotels. Now I also have an intro here on this little daily check-in as well. This is something I just put together. It's not me talking. It's basically something I posted on, Twitter or TikTok, and just basically, converted or uploaded it onto this, so I can do it as a quick little intro. It's like 10 seconds, and there you go. Because you don't need much on this. Because like I said, this is not a long, drawn-out thing. I'm trying to keep this under 30 minutes, so I don't need a long intro either. The one that I do for On Air with Russell of Hotels is like a minute. Okay, so that's a little long intro, right? But it serves a purpose, okay? So just make sure, and editing, I do live, so I don't edit anything. So if it's messed up, if it's jacked up, if I say something wrong, I just say something wrong. I'm not going to go back and edit it. So that's one thing. That's one reason why I do lives. I do a lot of lives because I don't like to edit, right? So right now, I mean, there's no take two. I'm not going to say, well, stop. Okay, I said something wrong. Let me start over. No, this is it. Okay, this is as raw as it can be, right? So When I say comments in real time, this is comments in real time. Okay. I appreciate people listening on the replay. I do appreciate that, but live is live. So if I say something wrong, then I say something wrong. I mean, hopefully I keep things, PG, right? And normally I do. So it's not like I'm a slip of the tongue. I'm just going to be going off ranting and cussing and carrying on, like my dad would say. You're just carrying on, cussing and carrying on. No, I'm trying not to do that. So, okay, so that's editing. So I don't do editing. Okay, this is real. I don't do editing. That's why I do lives. If I didn't do lives, I would do a lot more editing. I don't have time to edit. Some people do. I don't. Okay, so that's my reasoning for not editing, and that's my reason for doing lives. Create an RSS feed. Is it okay? Yeah. Record your episodes using your chosen recording software. Edit your recordings to. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong thing. Create an RSS feed. An RSS feed is essential for distributing your podcast. Platforms like Podbean, Libsyn, or Anchor can host your podcast and generate an RSS feed. So I use Anchor, which is part of Spotify. Okay, so I use that. So I upload like this thing right here. I can upload this to that, and it would extract the audio, and then it would go up into a file, and then I upload the file. Boom, it's done. Right? It doesn't take that long to do. Because this is not a long file when I complete it, right? So yeah, so you want to make sure you create an RSS feed. The next thing is submit to podcast directories. Submit your podcast to popular directories like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and others. Follow their submission guidelines for each platform. Yeah. So, and a lot of these cost a little money, right? They don't cost a lot of money, but they do cost a lot of money. When I first started, I was doing the free version, and the free version is free, right? So you don't get a lot of play, meaning they're not going to post it to a lot of different places where people can find it, right? It's basic. It puts it out there in cyberspace, but can you find it? Can other people find it? I mean, they have to specifically go and find it per that name, right? But sometimes it will come up on searches depending on if you use a paid version or not. So I use the paid version. Okay, so there you go. The next one is promote your podcast. Of course, you got to promote it, right? Leverage social media, create a website, and use other promotional channels to build awareness. Encourage friends, family, and early listeners to share and review your podcast. Yeah, ask people to repost it, to share it, put it on all your social media platforms. I put mine on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, X, TikTok, and IG. Okay, well, TikTok, I put a portion of it because I think there's a limitation to how much you can put on there. But I at least put some little, an excerpt on there on TikTok, right? So you at least know that, hey, let me go to LinkedIn to hear the entire, video or whatever, the entire show. But yeah, but you have to promote it. You have to, when I always say that, you're your biggest advocate or cheerleader, you have to do that, right? You have to make sure people know what you're doing, when to listen to it, what it's about, what platforms it's going to be on. It's important that you're the biggest advocate for your podcast because you want to be successful, right? So you don't just want to put it out there and that, cross my fingers, hope that people listen to it or watch it. No, do it ahead of time. I gave some advice to my friend Victor Simmons. He's doing a podcast. In fact, I'm going to be a guest on his show in 2 weeks, right? So he started this podcast, and it's going to be live on LinkedIn. And the advice I gave him, I said, make sure you take some time to promote it. So, because you don't want people need time for that to percolate and marinate, right? They don't just automatically just jump to things like, oh, okay, Victor's doing the show, let me jump on and do it. No, but if you promote it, over time, like say a week, 2 weeks, if you have a week or 2 weeks to do it, promote it on a daily basis. Like, hey, coming up on, January 29th, this show is going to come on. It's going to be on these platforms at this time. This is the topic. This is the guest. Then that way it creates a frenzy. People get excited. They're like foaming at the mouth, like, oh my God, yes, I got to listen to that. I got to watch that, right? So yeah, so make sure you promote it before it comes live, okay? Next one is engage with your audience. Respond to listeners' feedback and engage with your audience through social media and other platforms. Building a community around your podcast can help it grow. Yeah, that's why I encourage interaction, engagement. That's what it's all about, right? So that's why I choose platforms like YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and IG, because I want people to interact with it. And that way I can interact with them. And then that grows your community or your audience and all that kind of stuff, right? And that's what you want. Okay. And then the last, but certainly not least, the most important thing here is consistency is the key. You know, I'm always talking about consistency. Do it as often as you can. Okay. So, like I said, I do these things. I do a live show 5 days a week. Okay. Either that's the daily check-in with Russell of Hotels, which this is part of that, or On Air with Russell of Hotels, that live hospitality talk show, which comes on every Tuesday. So that makes up 5 times a week that I'm doing this. So be consistent. When I first, I've only been doing the daily check-in for about a year, right? A little bit over a year now. Remember, I did On Air with Russell of Hotels for 4 years. I've done 237 shows, right? But I didn't think that was enough because I was only doing it once a week, right? So once a week, that's, if you did it every week, that's 52 weeks in a year, 52 times that you saw me. That ain't enough. I need more people to know who I am, what I do, and how I can help, right? So that's why I started the daily check-in. And that doesn't even count the postings that I do, you know, the postings on TikTok, on IG, on Facebook, or wherever else, or what other platforms I use, right? So it's important that each one supports the other. So that's why I do what I do, right? Because it's not for the people that already know what I do. It's for the people that don't know. And there's tons of them that don't know what the heck I do or don't even know who the heck I am. But that's okay because I'm going to continue to do it because I'm consistent, right? So I'm consistent with the show. I'm consistent with the daily check-in. I'm consistent with the postings. So, you know, if I can add a new person or a new listener once a week, then I've done my job, right? I'm never going to reach everybody, but it's not going to be from a lack of trying, okay? So this is marketing your business, right? It's marketing your brand, your personal brand, you know. How do you build your personal brand? And how do you build your business? Well, this is part of it, right? And you have to be consistent. You got to be serious about it too. Yeah, I have a good time doing it. Don't get me wrong. But that does not mean I'm not, you know, working hard behind the scenes to make this stuff happen, right? Because I'm the only one. It starts and stops with me, okay? I don't have LA Talk Radio to help me out anymore. In fact, that became expensive, right? So now it's just better for me to do it. I do it from home. I do it when I want to do it. I do content. I'm creating content all the time, right? For this show or just for, you know, hotels or CVBs that I may be working with. So those are things that I do. Or even when I do my hotel site selection, I mean, those things, they all take time, right? You got to dedicate enough time to each one of those things to be successful. So there you go. So that's it. I just wanted to come on and talk about, you know, the question was, you know, so you want to start a podcast. So how do you do it, right? So I just went through some things. And along the way, no matter what I'm talking about, whatever the topic matter is, each thing that I change is a different hotel that I've been to, different hotel that I've had meetings at. My clients have had meetings. I plan meetings there. I do hotel site selection as well as content creating. And I'm a host of the show, you know, On Air with Russell of Hotels, as well as the daily check-in with Russell of Hotels. So there you go. You got my whole life history here, right? So any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to me on any one of those social media platforms. You can instant message me. You can slide into my DMs. You can do anything you want to do to get a hold of me, or you can email me at russell@russellofhotels.com. My website is russellofhotels.com as well. So there you go. That's it. So anyway, if you didn't like what I said today, that's okay because I'll be back tomorrow and do it again. So give me another chance. So anyway, you guys have a great day. Happy hump day. And then we'll see you again tomorrow for